Hello everyone and welcome to the Animezilla, and thank you for joining me as we explore part 2 of the last examination arc from the Tower of God webtoon series. And if you haven't checked out part 1 of this review, then make sure you go check that out. It'll be on the screen and it'll be linked in the description below. But without further ado, let's talk about part 2, which was a roller coaster of a ride that focuses on characters like Yuri and the rest of her team, Rachel, Bam, Sunwoo, and Endorsi. Ren as well. You know, we got the whole kind of conflict between Ren and Anak. So let's lightly talk about that as well as talk about everything else. Plus, there was a twist at the end where Rachel gets literally pooed out of a giant fish. Yes, Rak makes the comment of, why are they coming out of this butthole-like thing? And that's the thing that happens. So I want to start by talking about my favourite princess, that of course being Yuri Jihad, and the interesting connection that she and her team seems to have with an irregular known as Ulrich. As we've seen, all their members, well, not all of them actually, we see Yuri and we see the blue-haired character possess these wing-like medals that resemble the symbol that's been shown along with the character known as Ulrich. As we know, Ulrich was a irregular that had some very powerful influences within the tower. So people were actually rather, fearful of him. So to see that Yuri Jihad's kind of team is linked with that somehow, well, I don't know. This is just me going off like my speculation and what I'm thinking based on the evidence that I've seen thus far. Plus, we know that Yuri herself has mentioned that she and he will be waiting for Bam on the 70th floor once Bam becomes a ranker. So there's definitely an interesting dynamic between Yuri Jihad and Ulrich. So hopefully that gets expanded on later on. Maybe there's like a ranking system, because the wing that Bam was given, / Shibisu got, was actually only like one little tiny stem. Where if you look at the symbol, the blue-headed guy that Kun is talking with, then he has like loads of different wings. So, interesting. Wonder if they'll expand on that soon. Nevertheless, good foreshadowing. Now, even the way Yuri appeared partway through the Ren situation, I had to be honest, sent chills down my spine. I knew she was coming and knew she was going to intervene because I've seen the anime. But even while reading this, the way that her dialogue was displayed and the whole vibe and demeanor that Yuri brings to the whole kind of series as a whole just sent chills down my spine and got me excited for the beatdown that was to come. But the good thing about being an anime watcher first is that you know that in different places, good things are about to happen if you're reading the webtoon version after watching the anime. But then you also know that because you've got experience in reading the webtoon series as you've been going through arc by arc, you know that those good things are also going to be delivered from the webtoon version, but better. And this whole conflict between Ren and Yuri was delivered excellently. I much preferred the execution of this delivery between these two characters much more in the webtoon version than in the anime, because it was just built upon and expanded on a little bit more. I felt like it was a bit more intense sort of vibe between the characters, and Ren just comes off a lot creepier in this series and this version. Seeing Yuri's team members was really cool, and I already like the character known as Ice Strawberry. She has a very odd design, but I quite like it. She seemed like a laugh, honestly, and her interactions with Lori was just good comedy. In fact, Lori's character, as powerful as he is, was very underutilized in this kind of test. And as we expected, he's seen and shown to be a bit lazy. He just likes to find somewhere to nap. And I have to admit, the place where he ends up finding to take a nap to just looks glorious. That art style, mwah, beautiful. Now, the fact that he was used for comedy for most of the arc, and it was used effectively, I might add, was actually just really funny to see, and it makes you kind of forget how impactful and how strong this character actually is. So I kind of like that. The interaction between Kun and his brother wasn't that great, to be honest, but it does serve the purpose of showing us that all, if not most, of Yuri's team are involved with Ulrich's kind of following, as he too had that symbol, and I guess that it goes to show that Kun still has some way to improve, such as securing his light cube. Otherwise, if that gets taken down or hacked by somebody in a proper sort of action-packed kind of scenario, then Kun is going to be pretty useless in terms of supporting his teammates. So I think that was kind of cool. Nice little bit of, hey, you need some improvement in this area. We're not going to tell you exactly that's what we're trying to tell you, but if you're smart and you read it, you're going to figure it out. Overall though, I think this was a great way to introduce some new characters and showing off Yuri's monstrous strength. And it helps to foreshadow something interesting in an interaction between Bam and Ulrich later on in the series. Honestly though, I never made the connection between Ulrich's group and Yuri's group within the anime after seeing the wings given to Shibisu. I just thought that in the anime, it was kind of like the symbol that Yuri gives to Shibisu to give to Bam was just some way of Bam being able to call Yuri if Bam ever needed help. But this webtoon series helped clear that correction and my mistake, basically making me view it in a different light and kind of getting me to speculate and to think a little bit more, which is something I really do appreciate, and it gets me excited for future arcs. Well, all that being said is what I would have actually have said if Bam was still alive. That's right, even after entering the tower to chase after Rachel, learning how to use Shinzu by becoming a wave controller, beating a creature that is feared among rankers, aka the bull, Bam gets pushed off of the platform by Rachel, and he is presumed dead. Rest in peace, Bam, you will be missed. Now, the backstory with Bam and Rachel was really telling for Rachel's character, as if you understood it, if I understood it, not if you probably did, because you're smart and clever, if I understood it correctly, it shows a lot of jealousy and almost portrays Rachel being a bit childish, in a way. To me, it looks like that Bam is still in that underground area, where we saw him trying to climb out desperately from, before obviously Rachel kind of finds him, and then kind of brings light into his world. So is Rachel climbing down to play with Bam and then climbing out of that hole that Bam couldn't reach when she's leaving? That's the kind of vibe and kind of the way I interpreted that, which kind of seems a bit odd to me. Why don't Bam just come up to the surface and live among everybody else that Rachel is with? That makes more sense, right? Well, when Rachel is playing the game with Bam, she gets a bit emotional. And she kind of plays with Bam's emotions a little bit in sort of leaving whenever she's kind of losing or things don't go her way. As when playing the game, Bam performs a move that she just does not kind of think of. It doesn't cross her mind. And that could possibly put her in a losing situation, because the way I kind of saw it was that she just stopped playing the game straight away after he made that move, like a spoiled kid, not wanting to lose, so they just don't want to play anymore. You know, when you've got like a little kid with you and they're just like, I want to play a game, I want to play a game. So you're out there playing football with them or something, you score more goals than them, they're like, I don't want to play with you anymore. That's kind of the vibe I got from Rachel in this sort of section. So she says, I'm not going to play anymore. Yes, she didn't have a lot of time from what her dialogue portrayed, but at the same time, she left before she actually had to. So that implies that she's being a bit petty and a bit childish. And then, of course, she's playing on Bam's emotions by saying, nope, I'm going to go now. I know I didn't have time, but I'm going to go now. Why? Does she not like something that Bam has done? Is she jealous? I wonder. Going back to Bam, though, I love the determination on display from his character while fighting that bull. It shows off all of his teachings and shows off his interactions with other characters and the knowledge and experience that he had gained throughout being in the tower to help him kind of prevail over this really strong creature. It was very reminiscent of the first time that Bam actually entered the tower, where he had Heldon's test and he had to kind of get very up close and personal with that giant snake-like creature. Yeah, it reminded me of that, which I thought was pretty cool, because it kind of it's a good writing technique in the way they used it. And I think that the art style that accompanied the fight really helped in many ways to convey Bam's determination and his skill to kind of help us as the reader get behind him in that situation and make us want to root for him. I wasn't too much of a fan though of Rachel still being in a big clunky bed. It just looked a bit too clunky, and plus the kind of push that happens at the end seemed to be a bit more of a difficult maneuver to achieve while basically sitting down. Obviously in the anime she was in her wheelchair, and we saw that wheelchair in the training montage when everyone was getting ready for the test. So why wasn't she in the wheelchair? Why did she have to be in that big long bed and kind of, I don't know, it just seemed like a really weird stylistic choice from me. But apart from that, it was a great segment showing off some different characteristics from both Bam and Rachel's character. All round, brilliant storytelling. But does this image not contain hats? Bam is talking about hats in his experiences and his friends that he's made, but this shows how. And I'm a little bit confused, but I get it. How was a painful experience for Bam, but it just seems a little bit odd when he says hats and how is in the picture. Or Ho. I guess Ho is the name. But anyway, moving on. Next up is a character that I didn't think I'll be talking about, but it's Sunwoo. This character is one of those characters that don't get much spotlight. However, I really liked her involvement as we learn more about different classes / skills related to Shinzu and how people can wield it. Like, for example, Shinzu Fish Breeders. This is something that she is referred to as, and as a result of her having this skill, she can, she can control Shinzuawi? Shinzua? Is up on screen. Basically, it's divine fish. She can help kind of control them, and she uses those. We've seen characters like Ren use this, but on a much larger and more grander scale. But at the same time, this was a cool concept to learn about. Her conversation about love with Kun could be showing signs that Kun doesn't really understand or kind of agree with the idea of love, as he doesn't fully understand her logic in this. Maybe it has to do with the way he is raised up. We know that with his mother, his mother was a little bit manipulative. She was always like, don't trust anyone but yourself. And of course, when you see dialogue like that, you don't kind of compare that sort of dialogue with motherly love. So maybe Kun is missing that, so he can't really empathize with that kind of feeling and, emotion. But again, that's just my interpretation of it. It could be completely wrong, and we can just move on. But before we do that, I just want to say this line right here is clearly referring to Bam, right? If you think it's someone else, then go ahead and tell me in the comments. However, there seems to be a bit of a deal between Kun and Sunwoo, as she mentions something about holding Kun's end of the bargain up. So I wonder what this deal involves. We'll have to find out as we move on through the series. Ren in this arc gave me the chills, and he just all round just proved that he's a great antagonist. The information about him being the one that killed Anak's mother, to me, felt like new information. I don't remember the anime ever confirming this, so I just kind of was taken aback by it a little bit. I remember seeing the kind of like necklace with Ren in the anime, but I never actually remember hearing the words, I killed your mother, or I was there. So hearing that confirmation was really good. Nevertheless though, I think Ren played the antagonist role perfectly. Plus, it teases us as the prospect of a rivalry between households / princesses. As he mentions, getting rid of Endorsi would help make things easier for the Princess of Bai family. And he too is a member of the Bai family. So that, or Bear, is it Bear? Yeah, Bear family. So that could be interesting and hopefully is explored later on as we move on. Obviously, we only know 3 princesses thus far, and it's obvious we're going to learn more about them. But it also seems like they're competing for the 13-month weapons. So maybe that's just all it was referring to. Nevertheless, I still want to see a big rivalry between princesses and just kind of maybe a tournament. I know this is my inner sort of Dragon Ball fan talking, but let's see a tournament between princesses. I think that'd be pretty fun. Obviously, though, we know Yuri is going to stand at the pinnacle and at the top. But it'll be fun to see what the other matches are like, eh? And lastly, let's talk about Endorsi herself. This arc gave her a nice bit of development to her character, in finally understanding that she herself is in fact lonely. And after finding a knack in the tower, she's found someone that she can call a friend. I love the execution of this kind of reveal and this revelation for her character, as it shows that in this flashback, she's talking to Bam, and Bam is the one explaining and opening her eyes to the fact that Endorsi is lonely. Endorsi's like, well, I like being alone. That's fine. And he's like, well, that too means you're lonely, right? You've never experienced what it's like being with someone and someone making you happy. And of course, when Bam is referring to this, he's obviously talking about Rachel that's made him happy. Rachel is Bam's light. Rachel made it so Bam was not lonely anymore. And of course, Bam is basically trying to portray to Endorsi, look, you will find someone that makes you not want to be alone. And that person for Endorsi is, of course, a knack. And honestly, this was great. So Endorsi, obviously, now is kind of best buds with a knack. To be confirmed, I suppose. But we can move on and we can kind of see that development from her character. And she's becoming more and more friendly towards everybody else as well, which I really do like. Plus, Endorsi was super funny, especially that line about Bam definitely passing the test, because she promised to date him once he passed. And he'll definitely regret it if he doesn't. I don't know, that line just kind of killed me, honestly, because she was already beaten up and kind of badly wounded. Yuri was like, has he got a chance? And she just like, yeah, of course he has, because I said I promised him I'll date him if he passes. And he's like, he definitely wants to do that. Don't think Bam does, but let's move on. Overall, though, I really like this arc. This was probably not my favourite, but one of my favourite arcs from the series and so far. And once we're done with Rachel's reasoning for betraying Bam... Oh, sorry. Once we're done with the heroine's reason for why she betrayed Bam... That's right, Rachel now is the heroine. She's the main protagonist. And that's exactly what she wanted all along. I love the fact that the redhead kind of character came in and was like, so Rachel, how does it feel to be the heroine of the story? That's breaking the fourth wall, and honestly, that's pretty cool. But at the same time, I just like that kind of line. I don't know why. It's just great. But once we're done with all that, we'll be diving into the unknown, as Season 2 will be coming to this channel, and you don't want to miss it. I won't know what's happening. You might know what's happening because you might have already read it. But if you want to hear my thoughts with fresh, brand new eyes, then make sure you stick around. We just got one more arc to go, I think, and then we're there. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video from me. Like the video if you liked the video, and make sure you comment all of your thoughts down in the comment section below. I want to know if you agree with anything that I've said or if you disagree. And of course, if I've got anything wrong, feel free to let me know, because, hey, I'm only human. You're a human too, hopefully. But hey, let me know. You know, we can all have a great discussion down in the comment section. And, you know, trading information is always great. With all that said and done though, I hope you have an amazing day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe, have fun. Alligator, matane. Goodbye. Man, I didn't know how to end that. I wish someone would just push me. Nope, I'm on my own. I'm lonely. Bam. Bam. Oh, he fell. Bye.